Hello everybody, Jim Arroyo here, president of the Yavapai County Preparedness Team and the chapter leader of the largest active Oath Keepers group in the United States, the Oath Keepers of Yavapai County. Today, we are going to talk a little bit about handguns and fitting handguns to beginners and some tips and tricks to help get new people into shooting so that they have, number one, an enjoyable experience, but also so that they don't waste a lot of money. Now, I am a full-time custom gun builder. I work for Maisie's out in Chino Valley, Arizona. I've been with Dave Maisie now for 22 years. I've been in the industry for almost 33 years, little over 40 years firearms experience. So I've worked with just about everything on the market. Being an armorer and a gunsmith, we do a lot of the repairs for Davidson's, which is the largest Ruger distributor in the United States and one of the largest distributors. So I get to see a lot of the broken ones. So I know a little bit about what works and what doesn't work. What I want to talk about today is problems that some of you folks are having out there with your handguns. One of the biggest issues I see is people come into the shop all the time, and it's not just the ladies. The men are also having problems. If you have arthritic problems or you have a weak hand and you can't hang on to the gun, you're going to have a problem with an automatic pistol locking up. Another primary issue is lubrication. The vast majority of the guns I repair just need to be cleaned and lubed properly. Keep in mind, a gun will run dirty and lubed, but it will not run dry and dirty. The gun needs to be lubricated at all times, so that's a main issue. But one of the problems I see is some of the guys can't hang on to the gun well enough. So I'm going to demo something. I have here in my hand my wife's Ruger LCR, this is the LC9S. What she has here is a 9mm pistol, magazine fed. I'm going to go ahead and clear it. Okay. So here's the problem. One customer came in recently, said, well, I can't get the round to chamber into the gun. So part of the problem he was having is he's not able to pull the slide all the way to the rear and lock it to the rear to see if he has the strength to pull the slide back. If you're shooting and you can hang on to the gun, the slide should lock to the rear on the last round. On most automatic pistols, that is the case, not always. Then you go ahead and drop the empty magazine, insert a fresh magazine, and I'm going to not put this all the way in to demo this. The proper way to drop a slide down to make sure that round chambers properly is not by using the slide stop. This is a stop. It's not a release. It's not designed to use your thumb to push down like that. I have an extremely strong hand because I do this constantly. The average person cannot use a slide stop and push it down. So what needs to happen is when you insert a fresh magazine into the pistol, the best way to chamber that next round is to pull the slide all the way to the rear and let it go. That will strip the round from the magazine into the chamber. Your average gun, when it's locked to the rear, you still have a little bit of movement to the rear before it releases the slide stop. And that's critical. That extra little spring power makes a big difference. On some of the guns, you have almost another 1/4 inch of play when that slide comes back, and you can go ahead and release it and strip that round in. So he was having problems chambering a round into the gun. And then in the shooting portion of the show, it's what we call limp wristing. If you don't get a good solid grip on that gun and hang on to it, especially on these smaller 9mm, that slide's not going to function properly. Okay, so what happens is under recoil, that slide, the cartridge detonates, that sends the slide back. If you relax, you're taking away some of the inertia of that slide coming back, and that's going to cause a malfunction. That's one of the biggest issues. When we fit handguns to beginners, male or female, what we like to do is make sure, number one, they can get a grip on the gun and their finger reaches the trigger. Some people on larger guns, that's an issue. I have a small hand, that's why I shoot a 1911, always have. But on some of the other double action type 9mm, I have a very difficult time getting onto the trigger. So the main thing to fit a gun is to make sure they can reach the trigger when they're in their proper firing position, okay? If they have to turn their hand, that's going to cause issues while they're shooting. So this has to be fitted up in the shop. We specialize with this, especially for the ladies, because we have a lot of new beginner female shooters. We make sure we get them fitted up properly. And then we make sure they can operate all of the controls. Now, the other issue is a safety, okay? Safeties up and down. Generally, when it's in the up position, that's on safe. When you push down on it, that is off safe. Every single modern handgun will have a red dot or some kind of an indicator that's red that tells you the gun is off safe, okay? Not every gun is in the safe position in the upward position. Some of them it's actually down, so it's different on some models. But your average gun, generally when it's up, use your thumb, push up, thumb to push down. So that's another feature. Make sure somebody's hand can reach the safety. If not, there are other guns where there are no safeties on it. Glock 43, 43Xs, things of that nature, where it just has a trigger bar safety, nothing on the slide at all. So that makes it a little easier, but it's something more you need to be cognizant of to make sure that you keep that finger off the trigger before you're ready to fire. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the function of the slide. As we said before, when that gun is fired, the last round, that slide is going to lock to the rear. When you're done shooting and you want to drop your slide, the easiest way is just go ahead and drop your magazine down, pull it out, check it, make sure it's empty. You can put it back in the gun part way, pull the slide all the way to the rear. That'll allow the slide to go forward, push the magazine up, pull the trigger, take the stress off the spring, and now your gun's empty and ready to be put away. Okay? So making sure that a new shooter has the strength to pull the slide to the rear and can operate the controls properly is tantamount to getting them to be a good, comfortable shooter out on the range. When we're dealing with revolvers, we're having some issues, especially with older folks that have a little bit of a strength problem. They can hold on to the gun, they can pull through on double action, but where they're having a problem is pushing on the cylinder release to get the cylinder to come out of the side of the gun. So this is another function and control. We like to make sure somebody can pull the gun through on double action. They can cock the hammer so that they can shoot at single action, and then they can get the cylinder out of the side of the frame. If they can do all those three things in the shop and they're comfortable with it, then that may be a good option. Again, when you're getting them out on the line shooting, that has a little different situation. Now all of a sudden it's got a heavy trigger pull, which we do trigger jobs on certain revolvers and lighten that up a little bit. You can't lighten it too much because you lighten up the hammer strike and it will not allow the cartridge to detonate. So we can take a little bit out of it, but not too much. So those are just some of the simple things you need to be aware of. Make sure when you go in to purchase a gun that you can completely operate all of the functions. If you're not sure what they are, ask the person behind the counter. Let's talk a little bit about dry practice. Absolutely, when you get a new gun, the first thing you want to do is take it home, preferably get some action trainers, the dummy rounds that you can practice loading your magazine with, putting the mag into the pistol, pull the slide to the rear, chamber one, and then practice getting on a target and squeezing the trigger to make sure everything is comfortable. You can hold a good sight picture and just practice loading and unloading with dummy ammunition. That's absolutely required. Doesn't matter who you are, everybody should be doing dry practice. So that's something you want to be able to do before you get out on the line. You start practicing with live ammo. Okay, let's talk a little bit about carrying a gun. Proper belt and holster is the key to properly carrying a gun and carrying it safely. Now, there's a lot of controversy out there as to level 2 holsters, level 2 retention. They'll have a button on it or a thumb brake. A lot of ranges do not like this type of a system. Their philosophy is, because it probably happened once or twice, and that's due to bad training, is somebody went to reach for the gun, pull it out, and then had their finger on the trigger and pulled the trigger on the way out. Now I want to show you something. The way this gun is, the way this holster is designed, your finger should be between the cutout for the extraction port, ejection port, and the top of the trigger. So it should be right along the frame like that. If you put this into this holster and you put your hand down and you touch that button and pull it out, look where my finger is. So I don't understand their philosophy about how pushing on a button can cause you to put your finger inside the trigger guard. That's just bad training. So these holsters work fine. I've tested them numerous times. It may just be because of the years of experience. I know where my finger feels right on my holster. When I put it on my particular speed holster, I know right where it is on the slide and frame combination. So I'm not going to have that issue. This is my wife's gun. It was a newer gun for her. She's used to a full-size Browning high power with a lot of other different types of tactical gear. But she wanted to carry something lighter under certain conditions. So I got her this setup, and she'd never used a level 2 retention. So in just a few minutes of training her, it was not a problem. She never once put her finger on the trigger when that gun came out of the holster. So the nice thing is that retains the gun nicely. This has got the paddle system, which locks in pretty well on a belt or inside the pants. And these things work just fine. If you're having an issue on the range, you may want to work on the training aspect more than worry about the holster. As far as belts, a good sturdy leather belt with belt loops works much better than something real flimsy. Recently, I saw somebody carrying a gun with a very thin belt with no belt loops just wrapped around her waist, and it was flopping all over the place. Okay? Gun belts are different than trouser belts. A gun belt is designed to support the weight of a gun. They're usually wider, 1 3/4 inches, and they're very much more stable when the holster is on the belt. So that's something you want to be cognizant of. If you're going to carry a gun, get a good quality leather belt. Wear pants that have belt loops and make sure that holster is secure on that belt. Same with your magazine pouch. Now, mag pouches, speed loader pouches, either way, you want those things to be right accessible, right on the right side of your hip or in the front, closer to just off center of your belt buckle. So it depends on how you want to carry and what you're going to carry. Speed loader pouches are easy to get a hold of. Speed loaders with a revolver, it's not the fastest thing to reload, but it's faster than loading 1 round at a time. So again, it takes practice. We sell 38 special dummy rounds to practice with your speed loaders, to practice getting proficient with being smooth reloading your revolver. Same with your magazines. When you're practicing at home, practice drawing from a mag pouch, get it out in the proper position. Practice putting it back in your pouch, and make sure you understand where things are on your belt when you need them. This is Arizona. We carry guns all the time. This is a right to carry state. Everybody's carrying guns for the most part. But if you are going to carry a gun, make sure you're proficient with it. Let's see. Next important thing, and I get this question all the time, how much should I train with? How much should I practice with? My opinion is for beginner shooters, you should be putting 50 to 100 rounds a month through your gun. If you get out on the line once a month and you get 2 boxes of ammo through your gun, 1 box minimum, by the end of the year, you're going to be fairly proficient at what you're doing. It takes time. This is not something that a brand new shooter who has never fired an automatic pistol before is going to go to the line and take a class for a couple of hours and they're going to be ready to go. That's not how it works. It takes years of experience to be comfortable, but it also takes time to be proficient with your training and your techniques. It's one thing to be able to draw the holstered gun, get on target, get a sight picture, and then being able to hit that target. So all of that is just a skill set that's developed over time. You need to be able to practice as much as possible. Keep in mind, ball ammo is much cheaper when it comes to automatic pistols. 9mm right now is cheaper, but the average person out there may not be able to handle a 9mm pistol, especially if you do something small and compact. This is a 9mm. It is very light, and this jumps quite a bit. When my wife hangs onto this gun, she notices a difference compared to shooting a Browning high power. So 9mm may not be the way to go. If you're looking for something in the 380 line, then look at something like the Smith & Wesson EZ, and that's either in 9 or 380. For the ladies, the 380 EZ works very well. Ruger just came out with the new Security 380, which is their answer to the Smith & Wesson EZ. The slide is very easy to manipulate and pull to the rear. It's got a larger grip. It holds 15 rounds, so it's a little bit heavier, which helps absorb that recoil. So there's a trade-off. You want to carry something super small and lightweight, you're going to get more felt recoil. You want to carry something bigger and bulkier that's more comfortable to shoot, it's going to be heavier. So those are your trade-offs. For me, I prefer a heavier gun. It's just easier to work. If I have to shoot rapid fire, follow-up shots are a lot easier. But for personal defense, I would recommend something a little bit larger that you can handle. It doesn't have to be a full size, but not certainly a slim line or even a subcompact, something in the middle of the road. A compact gun is a little bit larger, but easier to manipulate. So if you're going to carry a concealed weapons purse, we carry concealed weapons purses in the store. Those you have to train with the same way. Proper way to use a concealed weapons purse is it's got a strap. It hangs on one side. It's basically a shoulder holster. You reach over, unzip it, stick your hand in, and you pull the gun out. Okay? When you carry something like that, you need to train with it. You need to go out to the field and train. Now, this subject came up, can I do this at the range? I would just about guarantee you can't, because for one thing, you're taking that gun and you're turning it back, and there's generally people behind you. So when you're working with shoulder holsters that are horizontal rather than vertical, they generally don't like that. Most ranges won't even allow a vertical, but if you're trying to train with your concealed weapons purse, that gun goes in this way, they're probably not going to let you do it. So you're going to literally have to go out to the field, get in the national forest, train outdoors someplace where there's no one behind you, and you can practice inserting and removing a loaded gun in your purse comfortably. Before you go out and try that, do it at home with dummy ammunition or with an empty gun, and just get comfortable getting the gun in and out of the purse smoothly. That's what's important. So anyway, those are my tips on handguns. If anybody has any questions or comments, please feel free to contact us at our email. You can look at it on the website, ycpt.org, and you can see the phone number there. You can give me a call, or you can call me at the shop. Call me at Maisie's, 928-636-1262. If you ever have any questions on anything regarding guns, what to purchase, what not to purchase, how to get fitted up for a gun properly, come by and see us, or at least know the question to ask when you go into any local gun shop to start to purchase a new gun. Last tip, here in our area, we have at the Compass Training Center, they do a Find Your Gun class where they do this once a month with either rifles or pistols and shotguns, and they lay out on 1 month to all handguns all over the tables. And you can pick the one you want, you pay a one range fee, and then you pay for the ammunition, and you can test fire those guns. A lot of indoor ranges also will allow you to rent guns to try to see if it's something comfortable for you to make sure that's what you want to purchase. Okay? All right, guys, that's what I got for you. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next video.